we're going to now extrude the arm and connected it to the hand. Remember, there are no wrong or right ways of going about modeling. We can keep going in this direction, but I think to make our life a little bit easier, what we're going to be doing next. I'm going to rotate it so that is straight. Rotate on Z. For mine is about 35 degrees. For yours might be something a little bit different. My arm, as I make it straight, it's going to be about 90 degrees. Let's change the orientation to world. I'm probably going to grab these faces. Just going to move them down slightly. And just like so. And we're probably going to go in here and try to line up these edges just a little better. The idea here is that things don't look too chaotic, and somehow they have some consistency within the line. We can keep adjusting this as much as we want. However, for the purposes of this example, this will probably be good enough. Okay, so what I will do now is selecting all the edges and then start extruding them. So let's start with the top of the hand. Somewhere along those lines. Let's extrude that outwards. Now, if you just click and drag the offset, you will notice that some deformations here will look fine, but some others might actually go across each other. So we want to avoid that. Let's go ahead and click on this little button here. And now let's give that one more try. As you can see, sometimes the deformations do work well, but sometimes they won't. So at that point, just move them manually. Just like so. Notice how I click the arrows to move these accordingly. Okay, so that's one extrusion. Let's extrude one more time. Just like so, just clicking and dragging. You can move these upwards slightly. The idea is that we are creating some sort of bridge that will go and connect these two objects. We can also select this area here as well, extrude them, and just like so. I probably want to keep the same amount of geometry on both. So that's good. Let's extrude one more time. All right, great. Now we can grab the vertices, and we can merge these two together so that it starts to give us more of a good connection there. So we can select both of those vertices and go into edit merge, just like so. Select these two, press the letter G, and there you will now start seeing how the hand slowly but surely is coming along. Another thing we're going to keep in mind is the amount of edges that we have in this geometry and the amount of edges that we have here. Let's go ahead now and decrease the amount of edges. Now, one way in which we can approach this would be to merge both of these into the one up top, and this is going to allow us to kind of create a knuckle area for the fingers. So first you can move them a little bit closer together if you want. Grab those three, go ahead and merge them together, and then repeat the same process for these two, and there you go. Let's go ahead and repeat that here. Sometimes you can grab two at a time. Let's keep going. Now we have reduced the amount of geometry, and it does create some good edge loops that later on we can move around and manipulate further as we need. At this point, we're going to go ahead and select the edges one more time and keep extruding them closer to our hand. Let's go ahead now, grab the bottom and replicate what we did on top. Yeah, be careful with these areas. Sometimes this tends to happen when you are extruding and you're not aware of this geometry kind of going on top of each other. So we can always clean that up pretty easily. Just kind of move it out of the way, either up or down. All right, let's keep going. Always be careful that you don't select stuff that you don't want by mistake. That will definitely create issues later on. So we extrude it one time right here. Try to keep track of all our extrusions as we go through them. So one time, and then we went ahead and extruded a second time. Pull that backwards, kind of like adjust it. There's going to be some areas here that I know I will have to soften in order to get a better result. Here we go. Be very aware of the resolution and the edge flow. Notice here how I have a nice edge flow that comes here and just stops there. So we're probably gonna triangulate this area similarly to what we did up here, so that we can get a nice continuous edge flow. But as a rule of thumb, you want to make sure that your edge flow is not only clean, but it also, each polygon is 3 to 4 sided polygons. Avoid anything with 5 sided polygons or more. You can also smooth things out to see your progress. And what you will notice is that when you have edges that are too close together, you'll create creases in your hand, in the hand of the model. So make sure to address those accordingly. To fix this, all you have to do is kind of separate these edges a little bit further apart, and that will take care of that. Okay, let's go ahead and do some cleanup here, just by moving the vertices and the edges. I've noticed here that I'm missing a polygon, so you can always create polygons by using the multi-cut tool. I'm just gonna go here to kind of continue my edge loop. Also, by holding down Control, we can create another edge loop here. That's going to be helpful for me to be able to control better this area. Actually, I'll create one more, as there's going to be a lot of deformation here. And now I'll be able to merge some of these together. Okay, things are looking good. Let's continue. Let's do one more. Let's do a couple of more extrusions. Alright, go into my object mode. Probably gonna push this slightly outwards so that I get enough space here for a couple more extrusions. I'm probably gonna be getting rid of some of this resolution. I just noticed that I don't really need it. So again, grab the vertices and go into edit mesh and merge them. And of course, every now and then, smooth things out and see where you're at. I'm thinking here that I should also start merging as we have plenty of geometry, and we want to make sure that we decrease that so that it matches our upcoming object. So let's do that now with this area. Probably I want to connect this to continue that nice edge flow there, and then get rid of the edges that might be a little too distorted or that we might not need. Same thing we'll do with this area. Much better. All right, couple more extrusions and we'll be there. And maybe one more. Okay, so these two objects now are pretty close. Let's try to close that gap as much as possible. Of course, feel free to move around as far as fixing your geometry. Go to the top view and just play around with the size and the positioning of the vertices. All right, so from the top looking good. I just noticed I have this little issue back here. So let's go in patiently and start fixing it. What I'm thinking is that a lot of these areas will need to be merged anyways, so that we end up with a similar poly count for this. So at this moment, definitely start to align the vertices. So this one will connect with this one. This face will connect probably with this face. This one we're probably gonna have to move it just slightly. This face we're probably gonna have to be merged as well. So we can start doing that here. All right. So the idea here is for you to be patient. Sometimes it takes a while to get things looking just right. Still, we want to make sure that we do our best. So here, now looking at the hand, at the arm. Here now looking at the arm, we're probably going to need to continue this edge loop. So we'll add an edge loop to that arm right here. So now both of those geometries will be able to connect correctly. We got this line connecting here. Below, we're probably going to be adding some more edge loops. We need one more that will go through this area. Let's go ahead and add that. So this will connect there. This one will connect probably with this one. This one connects here. This one will connect over here, and those two connect. This one here. We're probably going to need to add just the one more right in this area. All right. So just like we did with the fingers, these are currently two separate objects. Let's go ahead and merge them into one. Go into object mode. Select them both and then go into mesh combine. Now they're both one object. So at this point, what we can do is grab the edges from either side and start bridging them. So go into edit mesh bridge. If you ever get that green surface, this just means that the it has to be that the surface is actually inside out. So to fix this, watch the order in which you're selecting your edges. doesn't matter. Okay, so we needed to add one more edge loop there so that everything would have looked a little bit better. Let's go ahead and continue bridging. Now sometimes I notice that Maya does this. It's almost like it loses the ability to understand what type of material we want into these objects. Why this happens, I'm not quite sure. However, I'll tell you how to fix it. What you do is you go here into the hyper shade, that little circle that looks like an eye. You click on there once. And go ahead and select the faces where that green is at, or that they show that green, and just go to Lambert 1, right click, assign initial shading group to selection. That should take care of that piece. Okay. Go ahead, smooth things out. Take a look of your product. I'll probably have to come back here, kind of fix this, make it look a little better. And obviously at this point, we'll make it closer to what our references are, fixing the proportions. But you can see that for the most part, now we're getting an actual hand there that looks quite good. Let's go ahead now and place this, place the arm and hand to our reference. Press the letter D to get access to our pivot point, and then let's move this into place. Go to object mode. Move it into place. You can always just go back to the faces, select the faces, kind of scale things accordingly. Go ahead and delete the history. So you can go into edit, delete by history. This should clean things up and it should make things go back to their original point in case you're having problems with navigation. That should help out. At this point, we're just gonna take now a few minutes to clean the geometry so that it gets closer to our reference. So there's still some issues here that I need to address. The thumb starts to look a little too long, so we'll address that now just by moving the vertices. All right, so now if you end up in a position similar to mine where the geometry is there, it's just, it might take a little bit of time to clean everything up so things look a little bit more smooth. One thing that you could do is to actually go into the sculpting set of tools. So by default, you'll be on the modeling shelf, but you can go into the sculpting shelf, select smooth, which is the second one here. Now holding down B on your keyboard and clicking and dragging in your mouse, you can change the size of your brush. And what I would do is go and soften things just a bit, making everything a little bit more relaxed and therefore more natural looking. Now be careful not to overdo it. Like you can see here, that's something that may happen, but definitely have fun with this. I think I might have overdid it a little bit, but that's okay. We can always move this back into position. Once you're done, go back to your poly shelf, look at your product, press number 3, and see where things are at. Probably you're gonna have to now add a little bit more here and a little bit more here, but that's okay. All right, so that's looking a little better. Still some places that I can tweak some more, but this is pretty good for now. All right, in our next lesson, we're gonna go ahead now and start working with the torso.